So, a question for you. What is the role of self-access language learning centres in today's online world? Do they still have a place? Can they be reimagined? In this episode of Teacher's Lift, the tables are turned on host Eric Tindall as he gets the interrogation treatment by PolyU's own Dawn Gillis and Jessica Shah about how the ELC's Centre for Independent Language Learning is changing with the times.
Hello everyone, welcome back to a new year and a new edition of the Teacher's Lift podcast. I'm Dawn Gillis and I'm joined by my lovely co-host today, Miss Jessica Shah.
Hi.
And today we are joined by a former co-host. I think he will co-host again, but today he is our guest, Mr. Eric Tindall. Hello, Eric.
Yes. Hi. Great. Yeah, thanks for having me. I just want to say it's quite a joy to be on the other side of the mic today. My turn in the hot seat. I've always been in your position, hosting the show and asking questions, but now it's my turn in the wheelhouse, I guess.
So I guess everybody is wondering, why are you the interviewee today?
Yes, that's the burning question.
Exactly. What are we talking about, Eric?
Well, I believe the topic of today is how to reimagine learning spaces. And since we are now for the, the fifth semester, we are now in an online teaching format where the learning takes place online. This might be a good time to reimagine the learning spaces.
Yes. And Eric is actually, just let me kind of introduce you a little bit here. Eric is the perfect person to interview because he's been helping manage our Center of Independent Language Learning, and he's made a lot of changes to it. And from what I've been hearing, students are using the physical space and also the online services a lot more. So it'll be really interesting to hear what Eric actually did and how he envisions so in the future. So that's why we have you here today.
So yeah, and that's why I'm thankful to be here to share some of those ideas to how to reimagine learning spaces. I guess maybe I should introduce myself a little bit. So I help, as Jessica said, I help run the Center for Independent Language Learning, which is a self-access center. For those of you who are in Hong Kong, you will be familiar with what a self-access center is. It's this, or for those of you who aren't familiar, I think those from a North American background, this concept isn't very popular. But the self-access center is basically a place where students can come to self-access their own learning materials, where they can engage in independent learning activities. And most often it's used in the context of language learning. So self-access, I think this started, in the 1980s, 1990s, when the notion of autonomous learning as a way to increase intrinsic motivation came about. And these centers were built into universities or other tertiary institutions, and they contained language support. They would have newspapers, magazines, videos, maybe run some workshops or have English assistance on demand, and the students could just basically come, and learn at their own pace and in their own style. And that's historically how they've been, how these language centers have been operated. Now, as you know, there have been quite a few changes over the last 5-10 years. And let me ask you, on this concept of self-access learning, if you were a student and today you wanted to improve your English or find English materials, where would you go?
Oh boy.
I would go to Dawn's office and have a chat with her.
Oh boy. She might be busy. So I think that I would, if I were a student nowadays, to be honest, I think I would use Google. I would go online, I would find resources, whether they're videos or online tutorials or even something to read, to help me, and use that as my starting block.
Yes, exactly right. And I think that's how most students are choosing to learn languages nowadays. They're going to Google, they're going to YouTube, they're going to
Duolingo,
Duolingo, all of these online resources. That's how they get their self-access learning. So then, the question becomes, what is the function of all these self-access learning centers that have been integrated into all these university campuses and school campuses around there? What's their function now when really the students' self-access is online? And this is the challenge, I think, for all of those who are managing it, how to reimagine these types of learning centers for the new for the new decade, the 2020s and beyond.
That's right.
And the pandemic has, of course, accelerated that digitization of language learning even more so. But yeah, Jessica, you were talking. You asked earlier about what are some of the changes that have been made, so it's kind of you got to. I think you've got to strike a balance. You've got to recognize that a lot of independent learning is taking place online. So how can you integrate that with the physical space? I think that's sort of the balance that we're all trying to grapple with. What we've done, and as you are familiar with, and I'm sure many of our listeners also might recognize, is we've moved a lot of stuff online. So we've moved all of the the worksheets and the learning materials and the videos to an online, to our website, and that gives the students another a way to access these materials besides visiting the physical space. As you know, our SAPWAPs, which is the one-on-one consultation services, are now conducted 100% online. Of course, this is partially due to the pandemic, but even when we were last semester, when we had the face-to-face option, we still did many consultations in an online format. The workshops are online, which Dawn, I'm sure you're familiar.
Right.
You're well familiar with. Yeah. So I think instead of running away, we shouldn't run away from this trend where everything's moving online. Instead, we should embrace it and kind of help the students access the same materials that we have in the Self-Access Center. Help them access it in a virtual format.
Right. So how can we do that? I know it sounds like a big question, but I guess it is a hot topic nowadays because, as you mentioned, we have been online for 5 months or for 5 semesters. I just think about the students nowadays, and many of them are not even coming to campus because maybe they can't. So how can we encourage them to take advantage of what the centers offer?
Yeah, and that's a good question. Ultimately, it's gonna start with promotion, and the students need to know that these are everything is made available online. So you need emails, you need posters, you need word of mouth to kind of spread this message. Try to get across to the students that it's even easier now to get the English support that you're looking for than it was before, because our statistics back this up, that actually the booking rate for the speaking assistance program and writing assistance program, those one-on-one consultations, is 100%. When it's online, it's 100%. When it was face-to-face, it was never 100%. So I think this kind of shows that a lot of students actually find it more accessible when they're doing it online, because they don't need to dress up, they don't need to commute to the campus, they don't need to maybe have that, if they're shy, they don't need to have that awkward moment where they're meeting somebody for the first time. They just log on, and maybe if they're too shy to speak out immediately, they can communicate through the chat box. So actually the online, making making the learning, the independent learning and the self-access learning take place in an online format. Actually, it makes it more accessible to students, and students who might otherwise not engage in independent language learning are engaging in independent language learning.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so last semester you said that we offered some of the one-on-one consultation sessions face-to-face, some online. Did students prefer online mode more?
We don't have the we've always been looking at, so should we do research on this to see do they really prefer the online mode more? All we have really is the booking data and the attendance data, and both the booking and the attendance data shows that the online sessions are more popular than the face-to-face sessions, and we. There could be a variety of reasons for this. It could be related to the pandemic or safety issues. But ultimately, we just have to look at the result. What's the result? More and more students are using the center's facilities, center's services than they had been in the past. Now, that's not to say, of course, we should move everything online. Just do away with the whole physical space altogether, because if we do that, then we might say, well, what's the point? What's the point of having this physical space?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. I think we still need we still need to keep that physical space, because, and this is just my feeling, my personal intuition. I don't know if you have similar feelings as well, or similar observations in your interactions with students, but some students, even though a lot of them will book online, some students still prefer that old-fashioned face-to-face interaction. And it may be a minority now, based on our attendance data, we see that when we had the hybrid lessons, most students attended online, but there were still those, right, that always came, to the face-to-face lesson, and they said, I learned better this way, or I for some reason, the social presence created in these interactions helps me learn more effectively. So that's why, I don't think we should abandon that physical space altogether, because there is still room for that minority of students, maybe 40%, who want this face-to-face interaction, who want this in-person language support. And so we're trying to satisfy both groups of students and both styles of learners, which is ultimately what every learning space should do, right? It should try to make every type of learner feel more comfortable.
Sure. You have mentioned that since we have offered these workshops and one-to-one sessions completely online because of the pandemic, you have mentioned that attendance is 100%. So I'm curious then, what things make online access better, I guess, than, let's say, it was before, than just having it face to face?
Yeah, that's a good question, Dawn. I would say, just off the top of my head and based on conversations I've had with students, it's ultimately convenience, right? It comes down to convenience. You don't need to, the actual act of attending one of these consultations, or the actual act of gaining support, simply requires you to, click a Zoom link, and then you're on, and there it is. Whereas if it was in person, you've got to get on the bus or get on the MTR, or you got to get dressed, get on the bus, go to campus,
right?
Which is a much higher time commitment. So I think the online format makes it more convenient to students, and maybe we could also talk about that. The current, I guess the current generation, they're all like 18, 20, 21 year. This is kind of the format that they've been used to their whole life, right?
Sure.
With the with their text message chatting and almost everything taking. They've had internet from the earliest time. Yeah.
Yes.
There's probably a comfort level for them to engage.
Sure. Yes, but then I think we've all experienced this, because it's so convenient and because they don't have to invest their time, their energy to actually do this. How much interaction are they actually getting, or how are they actually, well, basically, I think the question is, are they actually benefiting from this?
Yeah.
Or is it just convenient for them and they're just attending? But then when compared to actually attending a consultation face to face, there has to be that difference, right? Some people, yes, they still learn better online. So what are your thoughts on that, Eric?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jessica. And this is something I think a lot of the research is still very unsettled on, right? How much are they getting out of? How much interaction are they getting out of these online sessions? Especially because some may just come and only use the chat box, right? And they might. Yeah. And to their credit, maybe that's what they're comfortable with. Maybe that's how they like to learn. They like to, think about, formulate their sentences in written format before they ask the question. But yeah, then the question becomes exactly as you asked: is it actually helping them? Is it actually helping to promote their learning or to help them improve their language? Because especially when we talk about language learning, interaction is important, right?
Right.
Practice is important, and it wouldn't be an overstatement to say that students are interacting less in an online format than they are in a face-to-face format. I think we would all agree with that, right? Yeah. And so we have to. I think this is something we've got to. And I think every educator in the world is trying to tackle or grapple with is, how do we promote interaction in these online formats, and is it really helping them? And it's an excellent question. And I would just go back to what is the result? The result is these sessions continue to be 100% booked. Now, if students were not satisfied with it, or they felt they were not learning, then they would not be 100% booked, because the word would get around that, oh, this wasn't so helpful.
Yes.
So the fact that they keep getting booked, I think, seems to suggest that no matter what our impression is, we might have one impression of how much interaction is happening. I guess their impression is that it still adds value to the education somehow. So now what that value is, who knows? That'll be another topic to discuss.
Yeah, because I think all of us know that so many times we do get those students that turn up for those sessions, and they literally have one question, and we answer their question and they're finished. So I can see why convenience would be a major motivational factor for them to support these sessions being offered online, because if you only have one quick question, it takes maybe 5 minutes or less to answer, then the question's done, the problem is solved, and they didn't have to walk across campus or come to campus to have that question answered.
Right.
There's definitely a lot of benefits for this online setting. But yeah, I think it just goes back to what we were just saying. Is this the new way? Is this how we're going forward?
Yes.
Yeah.
And if this is the new way, we have to, as teachers, just like what Eric was saying, we have to figure out a way to not make this so convenient that some of them are just coming to us with one question. Right? Because, we all know that interaction is so important. And I just read an interview online with students. Eric just mentioned 2018, from the COVID era, and they're just saying how would they prefer to learn a language? And there was this one girl who said, I can learn a new language from my house with online resources. But if I had to choose only one option, my option would be to go to another country and to just talk to the people there, and I feel like this is still something we all value, right? And I think with self-access learning, just like what Eric mentioned, so much has changed. I think before, self-access learning has been very independent in a way. Like we all just learn by ourselves. But now the language learning apps, the video conferencing tools, the online materials, they've all become so much more interactive. Yeah. Like there's always this community of learners. You get interaction, whereas like 10 years ago, you don't have that in self-access learning. So my question, I guess, to Eric is, has the SIL been able to take advantage of that interactiveness that's actually offered online now, that's offered to like independent learning now? So how has SIL been able to kind of develop in that area?
Yeah, that's a good question, Jessica. We of course, as you know, we offer the one-on-one consultations with the English tutors, and we offer these workshops, which these are all in-house, right? These are all in-house interactive options that the students can seek if they want English assistance. We do want to try to branch out a little bit to take advantage of some of these online apps to see how we can integrate them into the SIL's online operations, because you're absolutely right. That is one of the essential elements of language learning is interaction. It's not just interaction with one person, like with a teacher. It's interaction with a community of learners, because that's how we learn languages, right? We have to be exposed to them and exposed to conversations between people. And eventually that gets ingrained in our brain and we start producing the language ourselves. This is one of the challenges. This is one of the challenges of all types of any type of self-access center. We've got to try to leverage what's already out there on the internet and integrate it with the operations of the center. So this is a good question, and this is something we're going to try to work on in the coming year. But going back to when Dawn, I think Dawn brought up the point of the students come with just there are a lot of students who come with just one question, and they want that one question answered, and then that one question is answered, and then they go away. Yeah. And we look at it. And we might think, oh, well, we satisfied them, right? We did a good job, right? We answered their question, and all it took was 5 minutes, and we've got the rest of the hour free, and the student happy, everybody's happy.
Exactly.
But then if you wanted to take a step back and ask, well, what was really accomplished from that 5-minute interaction? You gave them an answer which they probably could have Googled themselves if they really thought about it. Did we really improve their English much? Probably not. Did we really help them learn more effectively? Arguable, but not 100%, especially if the interaction is that short. So it's always it's again something else we're trying to balance. How do we satisfy the student while at the same time ensuring that the student is actually learning and improving on their language? And a lot of times in this maybe instant gratification society that we live in now, where everything is available at our fingertips, we can get any answer we want. If we want to watch something, there it is right there. We have instant gratification at all times, and the students also know this, so that's why they might book you just for that 5-minute question. We demand instant gratification, but at the same time, we also want to ensure that some things you're not going to learn if you're just pursuing that instant gratification method.
Sure.
And again, it's something we've got to balance, because we want to make them satisfied, but at the same time we want to help improve their language.
Yeah. And I think it goes back to one of the first points you mentioned, like promotion, or getting the message out there, managing their expectations, or being able to facilitate their learning in a way of telling them what to expect or how they should take advantage of this. I think that is something really important. Is that a focus that you guys are working on now? Like how to rebrand or how to re-educate students in a way this is still, but how can we use it now? Is that a focus that you guys are working on?
It was, yeah, especially in the last year, because, and this was in the midst of the world. We still are in the midst of the pandemic, but, of course, at that time, there were many fewer students visiting the SIL, right? The SIL was empty. I think even today you can go there and it's virtually empty. And so we kind of wanted to think about, well, what is the purpose of this space now when it's not a place for people to gather, when people don't want to gather anymore. It's not a place where people can come to learn language or access materials because all those materials are online. So what really is the purpose here? And, we thought about, there are a few ways we try to rebrand. One of those ways was to make the SIL into more of I don't know if you're familiar with a co-working spaces.
Yeah, sure.
So in a co-working space, which is it's the kind of this communal workspace where people from various professions and jobs and freelancers would come to find an office and a comfortable place for them to work with fast internet connections. And this is this is one of the ways we wanted to use the space. We wanted to make it an appealing and comfortable place where students could work, somewhere safe. That's not where they don't need to worry about interacting with or gathering in large groups because there are private desks, there are private rooms, and in this era of online learning where many students they're trying to learn at home, which they have brothers and sisters and crowded, cramped apartments, and parents and dogs making noise, and the lighting's poor, the internet connection's not fast enough. Where can they go? Where can they go to attend these online classes? So we wanted to try to emphasize that in this space, you can get privacy, you can get comfort, you can get a fast internet connection, you can get an opportunity to maybe meet other, or collaborate with other students who are also there, which is what a lot of co-working spaces try to take advantage of. We try to emphasize the natural light that comes, shining in, like many, coffee shops. They have that natural light that makes it comfortable to work at. We changed the furniture to make it more comfortable, more inviting. Got rid of some of the old 1990s-esque carpeting and sofas, and just to make it a more attractive place to hang out, because this is a way to maybe bring more students in, and once they are in there, they may be able to discover other things while they're there. They may be able to discover the IELTS books, for example, if they're thinking about learning IELTS, or they may be able to discover the games that are there, or they may be able to discover the robot.
Yes, the robot.
Tammy.
and they'll be able to see that there are private rooms that they can they can study, they can take online classes in peace, or they and their group members can gather to work on a group project in peace and in comfort. And they'll also see the help desk that's there. They'll also see in the SAP WAP rooms how some of the teachers are giving language support, and that might stimulate them to also seek out assistance to help their language learning. But if we just had this and we said, oh, come here to improve your language, it may not be effective enough, because they have many other opportunities to learn language online through YouTube. So you need to find other ways to bring them in.
Yeah, I personally feel like still has the colors. It's warm. Like the posters right in the front, they're really welcoming. I think that's really, it gives off a different vibe in a way. It's not like I'm there just to work on my own. Like I could meet people there in small groups, but still, there are people there. And I think, that's kind of like what a lot of companies are doing now, just being able to encourage colleagues to just come in, learn from each other, talk to each other, interact with each other. And that's how really productivity comes from. And so, hopefully we'll be able to do the same for our students.
Right. And then another, the next step is also to try to integrate it a little bit more strongly with the curriculum of the ELC. Right. To have, some classes where they might have a consultation session in the SIL, or they might have, engage in a presentation or a video watching session in the SIL, or like in a business class, they might have to design, marketing materials for the SIL. So that's another way we might be able to, attract students to come into the center and make use for it.
Yeah, sure. It seems that, like in all this discussion today about how SIL and self-access learning has gone from, let's say, like the face-to-face to online, and now we're sort of trying to work out how to incorporate the two of them together, because there will be a post-COVID world at some point. Do you think that by having these self-access centers and also providing the online services in which we do you think it somehow gives students a greater sense of ownership on their learning?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was I think that was the original purpose of why they developed the self-access centers, is because there were studies that observed that when students could engage in autonomous learning, like they could take control of their own learning. They can learn when they want. They can learn where they want. They can seek out materials themselves. This makes them a lot more motivated to continue learning. And that's why all the universities said, okay, well, let's make these self-access centers. And I think, with the internet now, when we've got all these other forms of, these exercises online, or these online workshops, or these online consultations, that provides a whole nother, it kind of opens up the door to a whole new world of autonomous learning. So we hope then that will make them more intrinsically motivated to continue with their learning and to seek out other ways to improve their English, which is more necessary now, or more essential now than it's ever been in the past, because as Jessica said, the student said, oh, well, I would really like to go to another country and practice with the people every day, but at least in Hong Kong, that's not possible for most students. We cannot travel anymore. We cannot interact with people anymore, at least in the same way we did before. We cannot, everybody's in masks, so we cannot read the facial expressions, which helps us with language learning. So there have been some tremendous obstacles, I think, which have prevented students from growing or developing their language skills. And I think we've all noticed these in our classes that we've been teaching, that some students have a lot of difficulty in the language. So it's more essential now than it's ever been to introduce students to these other ways that they can improve their English.
Sure.
I think that really brings us to the end. That was a perfect way to end this. And I think like a lot of the innovative solutions that we're thinking about now, we're all thinking about sustainability. And I think that's really what you just talked about. If they're motivated, if they feel like they have ownership, then that's how they'll continue down this path, continue to come to SIL, and hopefully we'll get to see them face to face. Yes, sometime.
Nice. Yes.
Yes.
Sometime.
And
nice.
Let's see when, but still, yes, that'll be great. Yeah. Thank you so much,
Oh, no, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. And I look forward to getting back on the other side of the mic and doing the question asking instead of the question answering.
We are looking forward to it as well. So thank you so much, both of you, for contributing today. And yes,
see you next time.
To having a discussion with you guys soon.
Yes.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.
Take care. Bye.